Howdy there, Internet students. It's Mr. Hermanson again. We're starting lesson 2.3 today, which is kind of putting it all together and solving problems using proportions. So you need to read the words, figure out what you got, what you're looking for, and then set up a proportion to solve it. So the first problem says a survey of 2 schools finds that 300 Jefferson students watch more than 1 hour of television every night, and 270 Memorial students watch more than 1 hour. And we want to know what percentage of Jefferson students watch more and what percent of Memorial watch more. To find a percent, you're going to set up your proportion like this with 100 in this spot. And remember that on the top of your proportion, when you're doing a percent, you're going to put the part, and the bottom you're going to put the whole. Okay, in this case, the whole is how many total students there are at Jefferson and how many there are at Memorial. So there's 600 at Jefferson, and 300 Jefferson students watch more than 1 hour, so we're going to put that as your part. Then we're going to just change that to a percent. Remember, you cross multiply and then divide. Some of you might have already noticed that this is 300 is exactly half of 600, which is 50%. Okay, now at Memorial, our whole is 450, so we want to know what percent 270 is out of 450. And just kind of estimating that, I think my answer is less than 50%, more than 50%, because half of 450 would be 225. So now I'm going to just use my calculator to find that. I'm going to take 270 times 100, and then divide that by the other number, which is 450, and that gives me 60. So 60% at Memorial. Comparing percentages, do more Jefferson students or more Memorial students? A greater percent of Memorial students watch more than 1 hour TV. Actually, more Jefferson students watch more, but as a percent of the total, Memorial has a higher percent. Okay. Jefferson has 275 girls, Memorial has 250. Which school has a greater percentage of girls? So for Jefferson, we want to do 275 as our part that are girls for the total, or the whole, which is 600. We want to know what percent that is. Now, you don't have to ever do this, but just a quick shortcut. Whenever you're finding the percent, you can just divide those two numbers like you're changing a fraction into a decimal. Divide those. And when you do that, you're going to get the decimal for that fraction. Now, to change to a percent, you just have to move the decimal over 2 places, because that's what happens when you multiply it by 100. So, so you get about 45.8%. Let's just round that to 46%. Okay, now we're going to do Memorial. Memorial has 250 out of their 450 total. Okay, and so we're going to do 250 divided by 450 and multiply that by 100. So there's about 50. We're going to round that to 56%. So it seems like Memorial has a greater percent of girls, because that was the 250. So this is Memorial. All right. At each school, 75% of students play musical instrument. About how many students at Jefferson play musical? This one we're going to set up a little bit different. We're going to use the same proportion, put the percent over 100. We have the percent, so that goes there. We want to know how many students out of the total in Jefferson play an instrument. So that means our whole is the total number. And then the part is what we're missing, the number that play a musical instrument. So we'll leave that spot blank. So we're going to do 600 times 75. And divide that by 100. And we get 450. Play an instrument. Okay, and then for the other, for memorial, we just are going to use a different total students. But the rest is the same because we're doing 75% again. So 75 times 450 divided by 100. Now also notice what happens when you divide by 100. It just moves the decimal to the left 2 places. So now you can't have part of a person or part of an animal or anything, so we definitely need to round that to 338 students in that school play a musical instrument. Okay. I think I'm going to let you do this one. And you can check back and see the work I did. Okay. So here's how I set those up. All right, it says suppose you look for p% of 450 and p% of 600. Now when you see a letter in there, that means you can choose anything to represent that. Like you could say 450 for P, and I just picked that because I thought it would be kind of cool to look at 450 of 450. But you could pick any number you want. But whatever number you pick for this P over here, you have to pick for the other P over there just to check it. And we want to know which would be a greater number. So I think I'm going to pick a different number though, just because we're looking for percents, and percents aren't usually over 100, but I mean they can be. So let's erase that. Let's do 100%. Okay? Because 100% is easy to think about. It's just all of it, right? You might pick 50% too, because then you're thinking of half. But so let's say we'd say 100%. So which would be a greater number? 100% of 450, which is 450, right? Or 100% of 600, which is 600. Well, obviously, the p% of 600. So if you're taking the same percent, if you are taking it out of a larger number, it's going to be a larger amount. Okay? Which represents a greater percentage for t out of 450 or t out of 600. Again, this is the one we probably want to use 450, because then this is 100%, right? If we do 450 out of 450, now we got to use the same t, 450 out of 600. Well, that's not quite 100%. So this is going to be a greater percentage because it's out of a smaller amount. So if you have the same number out of a smaller amount as a percent, it's going to be greater. All right. So the 7th and 8th grade students at Meredith Middle School are selling tickets for the school play. The 8th grade had 300 tickets to sell. The 7th grade had 250 to sell. By the time the play began, each grade had sold exactly 270 tickets. So the 8th grade had to sell 300, and they sold 270. So let's use 270 as our part and 300 as our whole. Find that percent. And then the 7th grade actually also sold 270 tickets, but they only had 250 to sell. So we're going to use that's going to be a different whole. It seems like they sold more than they needed to. Okay, so go ahead and calculate those 2%. Here's what I got. That's 108%. So yeah, the 7th grades are doing better as far as going towards their goal. Okay, Isabel was shopping for a winter coat. She found the same coat online at a store. Online, the coat cost $78, but they were offering a discount of 20% off. At the store, the coat was $86, but Isabel had a coupon for 24% off. Which coat is a better deal? So we got to take off 20%. Now, 20% of 78, you would set up that proportion like that. 78 would be your total. Okay, so then I would do 78 times 100 divided by 20. Whoops, I did that wrong. Let's do that again. 78 times 20 divided by 100. And so she's going to get $15.6 off, which is $15.60 off. So we have to do one more step here. We got to take that off the price of the coat. So I'm going to do $78 minus $15.60, which is $62.40. All right, I'm going to let you find the cost of the other coat, and so we can figure out which is a better deal. So here's what I got for that, and you can see that it's a better deal over here, getting a 20% off the $78 coat. Okay. All right. So we're going to figure out which is a greater ratio by finding the percent. So we're going to change each of these to percents. Now here's where it would be really nice if you could do a shortcut when you do this. So we're going to just take like this ratio here, 56, and I'm going to divide it by 69. And I know that when I multiply by 100, that's just going to move the decimal over 2 places. So I'm just going to round that to 81%. Okay. Now the other ratio, 76 divided by 89. Move that over 2 places, that's 85%. So as a percent, this is a greater number. All right. Go ahead and do 9B, see if you get it right. So there's what I got for those. Okay, find 4 ratios equivalent to each of these percents. 75%, start with the easy one. Percent means out of 100, so there's one ratio. Then simplify that. Now the way I'm going to simplify that is, I know 25 will go into both of these because they both look like common cent amounts. 75 cents and $1 is a certain number of quarters, 3 quarters and 4. So 3/4 is another way. Now you could scale that by multiplying by anything you want. I like multiplying by 10 just because it's super easy. And so I get 30 out of 40 is one other ratio. So here's my ratios. Oop, I'm supposed to have one more. All right, I'll do one more. Times 5 is nice too, isn't it? 3 times 5 is 15. And 4 times 5 is 20. So there's one more. All right, so you do that for 115. I'll put down some examples that you might have got if you did it right. So here's some possibilities. All right, looks like you're ready to do some homework. Set up a proportion to help you solve them. And good luck with that, and we'll talk to you soon.